Um, I am. Let's see here. I guess I would have to say I'm not really a purveyor. I'm more of like a connoisseur when it comes to my favorite games. And my best favorite game is, of course, Final Fantasy. I grew up as a young kid with a PlayStation 2. My first game that I ever got for my birthday when I was 10 years old was Final Fantasy X and Ratchet and Clank Going Commando. Those were my first instances of gaming ever. Now let me tell you something about how I play video games. I play video games for the message that they convey, the story. If I don't get caught up in the story, I won't play the game. I won't get into it. And I know that's a little snobbish, but to be fair, most of my preferences in gaming are a little bit more on the RPG side, the JRPG side. I do like shooter games like Borderlands and Halo, but that's because they had a great story and great fans behind them. I like Red vs. Blue, I like Ruby, I like FMA, but I do have a little bit of a other side to it. I don't watch things with a bunch of gore. I don't watch things that aren't safe. It can have a little bit of blood, like Devil May Cry, but if you intentionally torture your characters to it, I won't watch it ever. Actually, I will criticize it because it's fiction. It's not supposed to be bad. It's not supposed to remind us how bad reality is. It's supposed to escape reality. And I have this problem where if I find a thing that's not handling a certain subject tactfully, I won't be uninterested for it. Because it's not supposed to work like this. Something like the Hunger Games works only because they're revolutionizing it. They are trying to push back the evil. Everything has to have evil, yes, I know. But it's in a way that the heroes always stand out tall. It makes us feel happy when everything wins. And once you put on a hit cliffhanger, then yes, that's when I get interested more. But if you're going to torture people like in Berserk, then I'm not really going to be interested in it. I don't want to be traumatized by my media. I don't want to be crying over a character over and over again. I mean, things like Naruto, that is how you do emotions correctly. Things in FMA, that's how you handle serious subjects. Things in Bleach, that's how you handle drama. Dragon Ball, that is how you handle death and brutality. You do it in a way that makes the hero stand out tall. And I know, people get bored with all that, but to be fair, have you ever asked yourself this? Why is it that we try to fulfill that boredom? Well, there are some of us that handle things darker, but I am not one of those people. So, even though my shorts will never handle something like that, and a lot of my comments on YouTube will say I don't like this, it is because I just don't want to be reminded of how bad the world is. I try to ignore the world and only focus on the happy stuff. I'm a kind of child mentality when it comes to ratings. I don't want to be traumatized by a show. I want to feel something that I don't feel in real life. I want excitement. I want heroism. Hell, even my music playlist is nothing but heroic music. Things about revolutionizing yourself, fighting against evil, banding together, fighting against the common enemy. That is the type of things I like. Things in Final Fantasy Tactics, that is how you do it correctly. If you don't know, Final Fantasy Tactics, Borderline, it's like, it kind of is like Berserk, but it kind of isn't. They don't they don't show this stuff that's happening. They tell it what's happening. But the victims, guess what? Ramza comes in and saves the victims from this stuff. Saves them from the tyranny. Even though it's not doing much for the entire world, he's still saving the ones he can save. Everybody else, you only get glimpses of their pain. Glimpses of them dying. But you don't focus on it as the main narrative. You focus on the story. How people can, even in the time of darkness, can still be saved. And ways around the darkness. It's world building. It's how you tell a story tactfully. Not just a trigger warning and not trying to get everything at shock value. Shock value is good only when you are doing it correctly. The best way for shock value to work is if you already have a story already built. Let's say I wrote a story and then you get involved, okay? But then I make shock value. Well, you've already are interested in the story and then you automatically get shocked by it because you never thought it would take that turn. But it doesn't make a hard turn, it makes a soft turn to that side. Still shocking the viewer, but also trying to connect with the viewer about the subject. Now, something in Goblin Slayer, the reason it never takes off, and why the abridged is so much better, is because the abridged cuts out those scenes. It cuts out everything and focuses on the maniacal, crazy Goblin Slayer that only focuses on goblins. And do you know what happens? The abridged is way better than the original. It doesn't start off like the brutal scene of episode 1. Episode 1 is just throwing you into the most brutal thing yet. Do you know why people say Berserk is so good? It is because it handles a basically torn world that throws you in so much trauma that your brain just needs to know what happens in this world. You're trying to find the good side of it. You're trying to find the happy ending out of it. Even though there is none. You were antagonized by the book to keep reading. Because the narrative is so strong, so emotional, that you feel pity for the characters. You feel mercy for the characters. Still not the best way to handle it, but it is the reason why people are so inflicted and involved in this. Something like Blood Sea, though, that is just gore. That's more of slasher film type gore, to where it just brutalizes everybody. Like in Mortal Kombat, the reason why we want to see gore is just for the thrill of it. We don't want to be traumatized by the gore either. That's why Mortal Kombat has been going on for so long. To see the fatalities, to beat the characters up our own. To do this to the other person in a way that, is bloody and gory, but there's no personal connection to it. There's no hate for it. There's just pure, unadulterated fun. And that's why things like Injustice work. Or things like, I want to say, what would be the most brutal but tactful thing I could probably see? I want to say the MASH movie. That handles the subject of all that in a narrative that is trying to tell you something, instead of just exploiting yourselves for just shock value. It is trying to tell you something about the story and about everything. About just the people there. Or in, like, let's see here. I don't really watch gory or something like that. In horror movies. Horror movies are trying to scare you, but they're not trying to gross you out. Gross out films, like Human Centipede, they're hated, but they're hated memorably. Do you know why? Is because that traumatized the viewers. So everybody remembers it. The thing is, companies don't see that. They don't watch the movie over and over again, do they? They see it once, they get traumatized, and maybe once or twice they put it on. But they don't like it. They don't like the story of it. Because what's to like? It's just gross. It's just that. But the only reason why we watch it is to fulfill this weird urge that we have to watch it. It's curiosity. And why companies that do this never get far. And honestly, that's what I don't like. Is the companies not getting it through their heads. We don't like this stuff. We're curious about it. We want to see if this story even pans out. Or if the big bad guys get their comeuppance. Thing is, when you stall for time, just so you can get merchandise out, which I've never seen Goblin Slayer merchandise. And every time I explain to the episode about the episode, they just go, well, you're watching the wrong site for that. But no, I'm not. I'm watching the episode that's been the original episode. The thing is, they don't want to remember it because they forget about it because it's a forgetful thing. Even in Goblin Slayer, if you boycotted the first episode, it's still out there. It's still canon to the show. The thing is, someone said the theory about Goblin Slayer is it's a D&D party just doing this for shits and giggles. But even so, that raises the question, why? Why are they doing things in a brutal way? If I was playing with D&D and someone did what they did in Goblin Slayer, I'd be like, I don't feel comfortable with you guys anymore. I mean, I can get up to stealing. I can get up to hypnotizing a dragon. I can even go for clean, sensual roleplay. Bard roleplay is what I'm calling it. But I won't traumatize myself just to be here. I want to have fun, and I want to feel good about myself. I don't want to be traumatized anymore. And I really wish anime would get that through their heads. But for my channel, if you're expecting gameplay from games that, are popular, that do that, I won't play them. I won't play a game unless it has a great narrative. That games have known what they're doing from the start. I'm going to play old games. I'm going to play Final Fantasy. I'm going to play Tahoe. I'm going to play what I want to play. And most of the games touch up on serious subjects in the good way. They're PG-13. And I know a lot of people have been going for, horror games, but I don't own any horror games. I won't own any horror games unless I get a bigger channel. Unless I can do things with my friends. But I won't go off the deep end either. The reason I'm telling you this is because I want to sit down and talk with you at a normal level. I'm going to play games that make me feel good. I'm going to play games that make me feel happy. I'm going to play games that make everybody feel happy. And I don't care if it's boring or if it's silly or if it's just old. I'm going to play games because it's what I like to do. I like to talk. I like to play video games. I like to have fun. And if I become a VTuber, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to have a normal conversation between you guys. Honestly, I can say some pretty funny shit. And yes, I will cuss. But I will only cuss a little bit. I will only cuss to emphasize and to create a sense of atmosphere towards you guys. If I am here to say what type of channel I want to be, I want to be the type of channel like Chugga Conroy has, what Markiplier has, or Jacksepticeye. I'm not going to be the Game Gumps type of thing. Not saying that they're bad, I'm just not going to be like vulgar with my words. I'm not going to be MK. I'm not going to be channels that have no filter. I'm going to be polite, sensitive, and honest with you guys. Now, if I'm playing a game that has alcoholic references, blood, gore, and all that, I will turn off as much as I can to keep everyone going. I won't go past the rating of Devil May Cry or Resident Evil. Basically, if Capcom doesn't allow it in their games, I won't allow it in my channel. If Square Enix doesn't allow it in their games, I won't let it in my channel. Basically, I'm going to rate myself the same way games rate themselves. How companies try to promote a family-friendly future. And yes, I know this is not short, but it's just what I got. It's everything frozen. Yeah, I think everything's frozen. But thank you for listening to me ramble.